Good morning. So, the Tale of Two Amendments. I hope all of you will watch this show in its entirety because while I do have my opinions on this topic, I think the show asks more questions than it answers. And I would really like to hear your opinions and thoughts on this. I hope you find it a thought-provoking show. I know that I still have questions about it. So first of all, the Tale of Two Amendments. Most of you all know what the Second Amendment is. You know the First Amendment, you know the Second, the right to bear arms. That's one of the amendments we'll be talking about today. And then the 14th Amendment, which a lot of you don't really know. You know Roe v. Wade, but you haven't actually read the 14th Amendment, but I'm going to read it to you, don't worry. First, I thought it would be cool to define the word amendment, okay? So I'm going to read here the definition of amendment, a minor change or addition designed to improve text or legislation. Okay? Now, the very fact that our Constitution has amendments means that it can be changed. That's what it is, an amendment. Every amendment was a change, an addition to our Constitution. As times changed, as people evolved, as thoughts evolved, as science brought out new things. There were amendments recently for marriage equality, meaning that anyone, any two people, are now legally allowed to get married. And it made gay people equal because, again, they're human beings just like all of us, and they have a right to get married. So that was an amendment. Over the summer, we had two horrific mass shootings in 24 hours, El Paso, Texas, and Dayton, Ohio. Horrible. Many people killed. People outraged, of course. Families destroyed. At the Walmart, a couple died saving their infant child. It's horrific every time we hear of these mass shootings that have become so normal in our society. And yet, the Republican Party, the religious right, Wayne LaPierre, the NRA, they all come out and say, don't fuck with the Second Amendment. Even though the majority of American citizens, even gun owners as myself, are calling for an amendment. We're calling for change. Something has to be done. And I am not by any stretch of the imagination talking about SWAT teams walking into your house and confiscating all of your guns. What I am talking about is common freaking sense. And I don't want to hear all this bullshit that we can't stigmatize the mentally ill. I'm sorry. If you're mentally ill, you should not have a gun. Period. Period. 85% of the people who commit mass shootings have a mental illness. There were signs. There were warning signs. Some of them even threatened to do it. Oh, that's okay. He's just crazy. That's how he is. Well, until he does it. And innocent people are killed. Okay? I do not and never will understand why any civilian needs to have these automatic rifles that shoot 200 rounds in 4 minutes. 200 rounds. You do not need that for hunting, and you do not need that to protect yourself and your property. You absolutely don't. And if you're actually a skilled and responsible gun owner, you only need one bullet. You need one bullet to protect yourself from an intruder. That's what my husband always says. You shoot to kill because you're not going to get a second shot. When you go hunting, you don't need a semi-automatic rifle. You don't need an AR-15 or an AK-47 with 200 rounds to bring down a deer. If you do, you're not much of a hunter. And if you use that kind of weapon to hunt, you're not going to have much meat left. Because these weapons destroy everything they touch. The military uses them. You know why? Because they're weapons of war. You get an AR-15 or an AK-47 to kill people, to obliterate them, to explode in their bodies. That's what these weapons are for. And yet every time anyone says we need to ban these weapons from our country, as many other westernized democracies have done, and they don't have the mass shootings we have, everyone starts screaming, oh my God, the Second Amendment. You can't change the Second Amendment. Well, here's my question, folks. How come the same people who say don't you dare mess with the Second Amendment are so quick to want to mess with the 14th? Let's read you the 14th Amendment. It's the one that happens to include Roe v. Wade. It was amended to include Roe v. Wade in 1974. Yes, the amendment that made abortion legal, available, and safe to any woman who chooses to have it. Let me read this amendment to you. It states that in states that banned abortion except to save the life of the mother, they found that was unconstitutional. No state shall deprive any person of life, liberty, or property. Person. Person. Let's define a person. A person, I am a person. You guys are a person. The little children that are killed in mass shootings, they're people. Fetuses inside a woman's body, they're not people. Not yet. They will become people once they are born. Once they are born, then they have the right to the life, the liberty, and the property. Only after they are born. Now, this may sound harsh to some of you, but again, when a fetus is conceived in a woman's body, it's her body, and that fetus is her property. It's part of her body. And this amendment says that that woman has the right to choose to not have a fetus in her body. Because it's her body. And it's her right to make those decisions. It's a medical decision. It's a health decision. It's a financial decision. And it should be a private decision without government interference. Okay? I've changed a lot of my thoughts over the summer. And I am no longer a raging liberal like some of you think of me as. And I'm going to do a show about that. My first show in November is about my change of heart about the Democratic Party and the liberals. One place I am still very liberal is that my body is none of your business. And it's certainly none of the government's business. It's not any religious person's business who says that their God says, I'm not allowed to choose what happens in my own body with my doctor based on my lifestyle and my health and my choice. And again, this is not an abortion show. It's not. But at the end of the day, Political Paula is not for late-term abortion. And I agree with the laws that ban that. But the point of this show is, don't fuck with the Second Amendment. But please, God, get rid of the 14th. And it's the same people. It's the Republicans. It's the religious right. They're using the Christian Bible and the Republican Party to try to make every woman, whether she agrees with their religion or their politics, to live by their rules. And make no mistake about it, people, these people that protest at abortion clinics, These people who want laws, these states that are saying if you're a doctor and you perform an abortion, you're going to prison for 99 years. Some states want to even ban abortion to save the woman's life. They don't care about the woman. But guess what? They don't care about the baby either, the fetus. They only care about that fetus when it's in the woman's body. Once it's born, good, we're done. Go to welfare if you can't afford to take care of it. We don't care if you beat the baby raw because once it's born because you didn't want it in the first place. We don't care if the baby is raised in poverty and on the welfare and the food stamps and the Medicaid. We don't care. We don't care if the baby's born with severe disabilities, hundreds of thousands of dollars in medical care throughout their life, dies a horrible death a week after birth. We don't care. Just have the baby born. Forget about it. Then they walk away. Their job is done. And the woman's nightmare, the woman who was forced to have a child she did not want, a highly severely disabled child who will never walk, talk, feed itself, go to the bathroom by itself, grow up, graduate school, get married, none of that. She's the one who's stuck raising this kid, taking care of it, losing her mind. And they don't care about that. So you see what I'm saying here? It's hypocrisy to the most. The Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, don't mess with that because we don't want to do anything that could possibly save a wanted child's life. A child whose mother wanted and cared for and took care of in her own body and gave birth to and raised and then sent off to school. We don't care about that child. If that child is sitting in their kindergarten class and some nutcase with an AR-15 comes in and blows his head off, we don't care about that child, do we? Oh no, we don't. Because that person who blew that little 5-year-old's head off had the right to bear arms, damn it. What a shame. The woman who, according to the very people who don't want to mess with the Second Amendment, the woman who did everything right by their rules, by their Bible, she didn't have an abortion. The rape victim who said, I can't have an abortion, I will give birth to my rapist child and send them off to school. And then she gets the police at her door. She sees on the news shooting at the school and her child has his head blown off. She did everything the religious right and the Republicans wanted. And simply because they can't tweak, just slightly tweak, the Second Amendment, her child is dead. A living, breathing person. The person, a 5-year-old person who by his very birth, his very existence in this country, has the right to life, liberty, and property. These people, these NRA nutcases, the Republican Party, they want to take away the right of life, liberty, simply because the NRA gives them a lot of money, and that is the true altar these people worship at. Thou shalt not kill is in the Christian Bible. It's what they quote when they try to mess with the 14th Amendment. But when it comes to the Second Amendment, I guess they forget that that's part of the Bible. When our forefathers wrote the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, it doesn't say it's the right to bear arms. And if you hear a voice in your head, you can go out and kill 50 people at a concert in Las Vegas. It doesn't say the right to bear arms means that you can have a nutty, weird disease, a mental illness, and walk into a kindergarten class and blow away 20 children. But the NRA and the Republicans are like, well, what do you want us to do? we have the right to bear arms. We can't be starting to stigmatize the mentally ill and tell them they can't have a gun. We can't do anything until they do something, and then they either kill themselves, we shoot them when we're trying to arrest them, or they go to jail forever. Huh? People are dead. Children are dead. The very children that the religious right, the Republican Party fights to get born because they want to get rid of the 14th Amendment are being killed because of the Second Amendment. Let's talk about this. What do you guys think of what I have said here today? And please, I don't want to argue abortion with you. This really is a show about the Second Amendment and the epidemic of mass shootings in this country. But it's also about something that I have always said on this show that I abhor. I hate hypocrisy. And let me say this. Anyone who believes that they have the right to tell me or any other woman, or the government should have the right to tell me or any other woman what happens in my own body, but then doesn't think that my body and a baby that I might be having, I'm not, again, way past that, too old. But if you think that it's okay for the government and you, because of your Christian Bible, to tell me what to do with my body, then why isn't it okay that once the children you are so hot to get born go to school, why is it okay for them to get killed in school? Why don't you want to protect them after they're born? If you're so worried about my soul and the fact that I might have an abortion, why aren't you worried that I might walk into the Walmart and get my head blown off? What if I was pregnant and walked into the Walmart in El Paso and had my head blown off? Why won't you protect human beings who are born? Since you're so hot to protect little tiny cells that you will never meet, that you have never met, that nobody has ever met because they're not born, why would you want to mess with a woman you've never met and will never meet and not strive to protect everyone who's already here? Especially the little kids who have no choice. They have to go to school. And they're not safe. And they're not safe because of those who fight and picket and scream and yell saying they're trying to protect them, to save them from the 14th Amendment, while allowing them to be killed by the second. Let's talk about it. Political Paula's out.